Hello, my lovely peaches. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel for the very first time. I'm just doing a quick little intro because the audio of this video, which is me stretching, doing some handstands on walls, some splits on walls, some hip rotations, and some general stretching with a few yoga poses thrown in. I am moving to the sound of Pema Chödrön, who is one of my most beloved teachers. She is a Buddhist nun, and she is teaching in this particular talk how our perception of things, sounds, and smells, or anything that we perceive does affect how we feel. What we're thinking about something affects how we feel, and that is a powerful teaching. So I heard this teaching randomly pop up on my iPod this morning while I was doing some dishes, and I thought that it was a beautiful teaching that I wanted to add to myself stretching, so that you can enjoy the movements as well as the teaching. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please click subscribe and the little bell notification so you can be instantly notified and follow my journey of fitness and spiritual growth while I learn to expand my willingness to love myself and others. There are no others. Ramana Maharshi. And again, it's Pema Chödrön. She is the founder of the Gampo Abbey Monastery in Nova Scotia. And I hope you enjoy this teaching as well as the movements. Thank you. See you next time.
And you realize that this is so. So, for instance, I told in the city retreat the story of a woman who sits at San Francisco Zen Center, telling me she had sat for years in their shrine room that has radiators, and she went and she said she is a person who's worked with her anger all her life. She has a lot of anger. She sat in this room, and she heard this clicking sound, and she said to herself, that's the radiator. And then she had a very peaceful, event-free morning. No rage. At lunchtime, when she was talking with the other students, there were many of them that were enraged at this woman who had been clicking in her throat all morning. And she was so struck by that because she usually gets so enraged at how could that woman do that, and she's being inconsiderate and so forth and so on. But because she thought it was the radiator, there was nothing. And she even said to herself, if she had known it was the person, but she knew the person had a disability and couldn't help it, she also wouldn't have been angry. But it's how we build it up. She said she would have been in such a towering rage by lunchtime that she probably wouldn't have been able to eat lunch. Then Ziga Control, who I've been studying with, told a great story about this in terms of how sounds arise or how things occur and we have a reaction to it, but actually it's just a sound, it's just a clicking. But his story was, he said he was sitting in this beautiful garden in England. It happened to be the garden of Sogyal Rinpoche. He said he had this lovely garden outside his home there. And he said it was just so peaceful, and he felt such a sense of spaciousness, that sense of open, clear, unobstructed energy was so available to him, and he was sitting, and he was very awake, and he was aware of the smells and the sounds and the sights, and he just felt wonderful. And then there was a smell, and right over there was this cat poop. And something had stirred it up. So then there suddenly, and the wind had changed, and suddenly there was this smell of the cat poop. And he said it made him gag. And he felt it was so revolting. So then it's such a contrast to how he had just been feeling, so he saying to himself, I should just sit here, I shouldn't react to this. And then he said, then his mind is saying, yeah, but if you don't react to it, you're going to vomit. So then he's struggling with himself. Of course, I love this story because this is one of my teachers, and I thought, he still struggles with these things. I was so delighted to hear the story. But he's telling the story, how he's struggling, like, I should just let it go, I should just, return to the present moment, whatever, and then he's, no, I should clean it up, and back and forth. He said he sort of closed his eyes in this whole process, and when he opened them, there was this fly reveling in the cat poop, eating it up, literally. And then he just started laughing. He thought, I have this total aversion. This very same stinky, smelly cat poop is just like heaven for this fly. And he said it was such a powerful teaching for him. And then he said, then he went and cleaned it up and took the fly, of course, with it. But he just kind of stopped the struggle, and he realized didn't clean it up, not clean it up was not the point. It was how we invest things. So the fly's experience of the cat poop had a whole different conditioning behind it than his. And so we don't have to sort of shame ourselves that we want to clean up the cat poop, but it's the idea of like believing in our aversion, of believing that it's bad, and the amount of how we feed that aversion, how we strengthen it, and we not only that, we think it's an absolute truth. And then when you see that for the fly, it's not an absolute truth. For the fly, the absolute truth is that it's a delicious feast. And we know what it is for the cat. A big relief. So with this perspective on repulsive and aversion, I'd like to do the exercise this morning of teaching you a variation on Tonglen, which has to do with getting in touch with the feeling of aversion or the feeling of finding something repulsive, and then as much as possible letting the beliefs and judgments about that go, contacting the feeling of aversion or the feeling of something being repulsive. Breathing it in, again, into the heart. The idea is to breathe it into a big space. So if you breathe it into the heart and make the heart very large, or just breathe it into a big space. Because the idea is there's nowhere for it to get stuck. It's actually, aversion is a way that we fixate the energy with our minds. So no matter what it is that you come up with, I'm not asking you to get rid of the aversion. In fact, I'm asking you to try to find it and milk it for all it's worth, to actually experience the energy of aversion, to contact what it feels like in the body, just the experience of aversion by breathing it in. And then sending out, I think the most helpful thing is just to relax on the out-breath. Just sense of relaxing and sense of spaciousness and openness on the out-breath, to sort of ventilate the intensity of belief that is triggered by something unpleasant. In other words, when something unpleasant happens, our conditioning clicks in, and our whole history clicks in, and then we have a very strong reaction. So this isn't about getting rid of our reactions. It's about no longer investing them with so much absolute truth, no longer believing in the judgments and opinions about them. So this is an important point. This training is not to get rid of fear or to get rid of emotions, but to no longer be disempowered by them, to no longer be under their control, to no longer have them sweep us away. Because these feelings will arise just the way the weather changes. You will feel fear. Enlightened people feel fear. Enlightened people feel strong energies, but it's a sense of not being captured by it. and not escalating it so that it becomes a nightmare and increases our suffering. So perhaps people would like to stand a little and stretch before we actually begin doing this practice. Again, as you're standing or sitting, whatever you're doing now, let's use this as an opportunity to just be here.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. It means praise to the jewel in the lotus. Peace to you.